All right, let's get right into it. Welcome to the Nolan Show Live. What is up, everybody? I got to stay a little bit quiet because I got some others sleeping in the apartment, so I got to be pretty quiet tonight. So I'm not going to be yelling and screaming like I always do, but we got a lot to talk about, a lot that I'm frustrated about. But CPNY, Amish Country Mets, and Sunny Days in Flushing had a pretty good live earlier. They were talking about it pretty well. The Mets got issues. Now we're 30-32. There's a lot of problems that this team has. Buck Showalter has definitely not been living up to the Buck Showalter standard. The bullpen obviously wasn't all right enough tonight. Ottavino got pretty roughed up, letting up that home run. And then Scherzer, he looked great early on, but then fell off pretty hard in the end. So that was not fun to see. But let me kill the music if it's playing. We got to just talk about it, man. It sucks. So now we're 30-32, 7.5 games back of Atlanta. And it feels like they're just burying us. They're burying us right now. Pete Alonso obviously went out with the contusion. Screw the Braves that booed him. You guys suck if you booed him. I don't know how you could boo a player after they get hurt. That's one thing I don't like. Another thing that I didn't like, though, outside of the Braves fans being assholes, was, one, I didn't like Max Scherzer being left in too long. I get it. Leone isn't too pretty out of the bullpen, but we got to use some guys. And Max Scherzer at his age, going up there over 100 pitches against one of the best hitting teams in the National League, not just in the National League, one of the best hitting teams in all of baseball. I think that was a little odd from Buck Showalter, who obviously has been putting up concerns here and there. And then the other thing is, that I looked at from this game was just obviously the offense. Right when they go down, it feels like they never come back up. I know that they tied the game when Tommy Pham, the sack fly 5-5, but outside of that, it feels like when this team goes down sometimes, they just have no chance of fighting back. Right when Ottavino right when Ottavino let up that home run, it just felt like the Mets, it felt like the game was over. And that's what it feels like for sometimes us Mets fans. It's like this team cannot scratch together a comeback, and last year they were the comeback kings. That's what they were. Starlin Marte was like, we love being down. Oh, well, you obviously don't love being down this year because you're 30-32. And I think the hot seat for Buck Showalter is on. I think it's hot. It's hotter than ever, especially if we lose this next game to Atlanta. I think he has to be on the hot seat. Sunny Days in Flushing was talking about it on the CPNY post-game show today. Why isn't he on the hot seat? And nobody's talking about it, but he's definitely on the hot seat. He's got 1 year left on his deal. This team is 30-32. If they go 30-33 tomorrow, it's bad. It's bad look. $364 million was allocated into this team. It's not meeting the expectations that it should be. We're supposed to be a top 5 baseball team. We're supposed to be better than the Atlanta Braves, not just better than the Atlanta Braves. We're supposed to be light years ahead of the Atlanta Braves. And the thing is, we aren't that much different than last year's 2022 New York Mets. Because, yeah, they don't have Jacob deGrom, but Jacob deGrom got us 5 wins. Yeah, I get it. They don't have Seth Lugo, and they don't have who is Trevor Williams, or they don't have those guys making the spot starts here and there out of the bullpen. And they don't have Edwin Diaz, obviously, but they still have Pete Alonso. They still have Brandon Nimmo. They still have Francisco Lindor. They still have Jeff McNeil. They still have Adam Ottaviano. They still have Buck Showalter in that dugout, the reigning manager of the year. They still have these core pieces that should win. Despite Edwin Diaz being out, despite losing Seth Lugo in free agency, despite losing Trevor Williams, despite losing guys due to injury early on in the year, such as Justin Verlander. Because remember when we went out with Jacob deGrom earlier on, basically the whole season last year, and who picked up slack? David Peterson, who obviously hasn't performed, and then Tyler McGill, who obviously hasn't performed. So we do have relatively the same team as the 2022 Mets, especially the core pieces, especially Nimmo, Lindor, McNeil, Alonso, especially Marte, too, another guy. Those 5 guys who should be producing. And another thing, Francisco Alvarez batting ninth, that's on Buck Showalter. That's the 6th guy who is, there's 6 guys on this roster who were in 2022, they produced. And they produced because, well, when you look at the back of the baseball card, I'm stealing it from Buck, those guys are elite. They're stars. Some of them, all stars. All of them have been all stars at one point. So when all 6 of those guys, including Buck Showalter, are underperforming or undermanaging, then shit is going to hit the fan. Then shit is just hitting the fan over and over and over and over. We sweep the Phillies. We get swept by the Blue Jays. We go to Atlanta thinking maybe we can change the narrative. That's at least what I was thinking. We have a chance to change the narrative. Then we just get stomped on our asses. Sucks. This Mets team, it looks like they're leaderless. It really looks like they're leaderless. And I know we look at the players sometimes to be the leader, but I am looking at Buck the most. Because I know CP alluded to it in his late game pod today, his post game pod today. When Eric Chavez got thrown out of the game yesterday, Lindor and Alonso go back to back. They feed off the energy. Now I'm not saying Buck has to go out there and get tossed, but I mean something's got to be said. Something's got to be said after the post game instead of, oh well, it's okay, he's a good guy. No, something's got to change. Lindor batting second and third every night. That's got to change. He did get a hit tonight, though, and he did hit a home run that last night, so I will give it to Lindor. Maybe keep him in the 2 or 3 spot for the next couple of days. But another thing is, though, we're floating everybody around still. Lindor's been out of the 2 and 3 spot all this year. Alonso has been really in the cleanup spot the majority of the year, and then Nimmo obviously in the leadoff spot. But last year, the lineup was stable. We had the top 4 core. It was Nimmo, Marte, Lindor, Alonso, McNeil, or sometimes Vogie, obviously, in that 5 spot. Is really they just flipped 5 and 6. Now everybody's all over the place. Buck's switching the lineup basically every single day. Nobody really knows where they're going to be hidden. That's a problem. Especially last year when consistency was the thing. Small ball was the thing. I know Nelson from the Amish Country Met page, even though he blocked me because I post Francisco Lindor stats. Same thing with the Shane Suns, Keefe and Key, man. I love you guys. I always show you guys support, but guys are being a little bit soft there, just throwing a little block at me just for posting a Francisco Lindor post, but that's okay. And speaking of people, other content creators, John Soprano, fuck off. As the great J. Cole said, GOMD. Retweeting my stuff, telling me to stop making shows. Why don't you just, I don't know, fuck off? How about that? So, John Soprano, the wannabe part of the Sopranos. There you go. Oh, and I could do this because it's my own show. It's pretty cool. So, I'm going to keep making them. Anyways, back to the Mets. Yeah, it's just this team does not have a leader. It needs a leader. And I'm looking at those 6 and make it 8 because Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer, 2 guys making $40 million plus. Quite frankly, they can step up too. Max Scherzer obviously fell apart. He was not the Scherzer that of like basically the last 5 starts. So I'm going to put that up real quick. Yeah, Max Scherzer, you see it right there, 5.2 innings pitched, 5 earned runs, 11 strikeouts. 11 hits allowed, 10 strikeouts, 1 walk. Yeah, Scherzer was not the Scherzer of the usual. It definitely wasn't pretty. So we got to get Max back. We got to get Max back, especially against the division rivals, especially a division rival such as the Atlanta Braves, who always have been kicking our asses basically the past 3 seasons now. We got to figure something out. Hopefully Verlander can play stopper tomorrow and not make us lose 6 straight games, get swept twice in a row by 2 playoff teams too. I'm going to add that. So that's not looking too pretty. We're beating up on the Phillies. I get it. But, then we play the Phillies, made the World Series last year, obviously, and they're probably going to be a playoff team again. But the Blue Jays and Braves, they're 2 very good teams. And those are teams that, just because they're very good, those are teams that we should beat, not be getting swept by. At least take 4 out of 6 total between those. Maybe win 2, maybe sweep 1 and win 1 out of 3, or win 2 out of 3 for both. You got to take 4 out of 6. This is what the $364 million. It's just ridiculous how badly this team is underperforming. When you allocate the most money into your product and you don't get the results, and you see other companies getting results that are 10 times better and they're spending 10 times less, as an owner, you're going to be pissed. So when the Mets are spending $364 million on their team this year and they're 30-32, someone should be pissed. Maybe Steve Cohen, maybe Billy Epler, maybe Buck Showalter, maybe a player, Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, Starlin Marte, Jeff McNeil. I can go on and on. This team has the guys. There's no excuse for this team to be 30-32 at this point in the season. They're showing fans that they might not make the postseason this year. That's what fans are checking out. They're checking out. The summer is about to begin, and there are fans checking out. Now, I still think this team can turn it around, but I understand when they say they're checking out. Because to be quite honest, they sweep the Phillies, now they're about to lose 6 games in a row. Up and down all year. It's the same thing. Nothing has changed. And Billy Epler, it seems like he's not going to make a move. Daniel Vogelback still being in the lineup every single day is just making me lose my mind. And that's going to bring up my next point. Why are we seeing Buck Showalter? Why is Buck Showalter putting Daniel Vogelback in the lineup every single day? Why is Daniel Vogelback hitting 5th against the Atlanta Braves last night? Why is he in the lineup tonight? Grounded down to a double play, struck out, and walked. In that walk, there was a runner on first during that walk. So when he walks with 1 out, your DH walks with 1 out. And then what happens? No run scored, double play happens, that's it. But instead, if let's say Vogie hits one in the gap, that runner on first can get from first to third. Even if it's just a single, that runner on first goes from first to third. Next batter up gets a sac fly. That's a run-in. Your DH has to hit. He can't walk. Your DH isn't going base to base. Your DH wants to get multiple bases. And that's, as much as Daniel Vogelback, it's great that he walks. It's great that his on-base percentage is very high. But at the end of the day, when you're a designated hitter, your job is not to walk. Your job is to hit. It's in the name. Designated hitter, not designated walker. So the fact that Buck Showalter still feels that Daniel Vogelback needs to be in the lineup every day is just ridiculous. And I get why people are calling for Buck Showalter to be on the hot seat. When Mark Vientos, who had over 1,000 OPS in AAA, has only played 12 games since being called up, and 3 of those have been pinch hit appearances. So really, he hasn't even started 10 games. This kid's under 23 years old. Send him back down if he's not going to be playing every day. What's the point of having him on the roster? To ruin his like I don't get it. I just don't get Buck Showalter this year. And that's why, but at the end of the day, it's not just Buck. It's Buck and it's those other 8 guys. Scherzer, Verlander, Marte, McNeil, Lindor, Alonso, Alonso. Am I missing anybody? Who am I missing? I'm missing 2 people. No, I'm missing 1 guy. I don't know why. But what I'm saying is, basically what I'm saying is, this Mets team has no excuse to be where they're at this point of the season. So changes need to be made. I think if I were the Mets, this would be the move that I would make. I would trade Mark Vientos. I would trade Ronnie Mauricio. And I would trade the other catcher. I forgot his name right now. He's not ringing the bell. We just drafted him with the first round, our first round overall, first round pick last year. I don't know why I'm not thinking of his name right now. But those 3 guys, package them for an elite player, such as Shohei Ohtani. Because this Mets team cannot miss the postseason this year. If the New York Mets miss the postseason in 2023, it will be the biggest embarrassment in sports history. You know, we finally have the owner. All Mets fans have done. The only reason the Yankees have 27 world championships is because they spend all that money. Well, we're spending $364 million and we're 30-32. And if it continues to go this way, we won't make the postseason and it will go down as one of the biggest failures in sports history, at least this season. No other team has even eclipsed $300 million. The New York Yankees are second in payroll. They're well under $300 million. We're well over $350 million. The Mets have to start winning. All right. Yo, what's up, CP? Yeah, I was really just alluding to the fact that, with $364 million, 30 and 32, we're not where we want to be at. I was kind of comparing it to just a company. If you were an owner of a company and, you're spending the most money out of any other company and you see your other competitors, they're getting better results than you and they're spending 10 times less, you're going to be frustrated. So I know Cohen's pissed. And behind the scenes, we might not hear it, obviously. We're not in there, and maybe the media is being a little bit soft because Buck Showalter is Buck Showalter. So we know sometimes these media members are very soft to him. Let's be real with the questions that they ask, which is odd because we're New York. We used to be so harsh on Louis Rojas, so harsh on Mickey Callaway, so harsh on Terry Collins. But with Buck Showalter, we're like, oh, Buck is Buck. But Vientos not being in the lineup, 12 games so far. 12 games he's played. And that is outright ridiculous. At that point, you have to send him back down. Or at that point, Billy Epler, maybe get rid of Vogie. But even I know that I forgot, I think it was Keith in CPNY's postgame show, he in his comments, what did he say? Escobar would probably be playing if we got rid of Vogie. So it's just like, what's the point of that? What's the point of that? We have soft media. We have soft media now who can't oppose Buck. But I'm not going to spend too much time on the Mets. I'm going to get right into the Yankees now real quick. Then the NBA Finals. Yeah, man. The Yankees, though, Aaron Judge going to the 10-day IL, blah, blah, blah. I don't think the Yankees fan. I think we're over panicking a little bit as a New York community. Damn, something just happened outside my window. I don't know what, but whatever. That's their problem. But yeah, Aaron Judge going to the IL, that's obviously a big blow. I'm going to put it up real quick, actually. I think if the Yankees, they can just float above 500, like float a little bit above 500 for the 10-day IL stint. I think they'll be fine. I think they will be fine because right now, what are they, 11 games over 500 or 10 games over 500, 36 and 26. But Judge, since May 9th, since he returned from his first IL stint this year, 325 batting average, 13 home runs, 25 RBI, 26 RBIs, 24 runs scored. So that's 50 runs that Aaron Judge produced for the Yankees. That's a lot. That's a lot. So, it is a big loss, but you did just get Josh Donaldson back. I know Harrison Bader went down. I know Nestor Cortez has gone down. But I think what this Yankees team has shown the fans is that at least this season and even a little bit of last is that they can handle and they can fight through these injuries. You saw Matt Carpenter go out and they still won 99 games. So, and Matt Carpenter, I know he's Matt Carpenter, but he was still a big reason in that first half, like a surge that the Yankees had. And then losing Stanton obviously this year, for a huge portion so far. And then last year they lost him obviously for a huge portion last year. And, Anthony Rizzo, I think he's a guy who you can expect to, I think, pick up the slack a little bit because even since May 1st, this team has been well over 10 games above 500. And, I'm just looking at Anthony Rizzo's stats right now as a whole so far this year. He's hitting 289. He's got an OPS of 840. And he's got 11 home runs, 32 RBIs. So Anthony Rizzo is playing at an all-star level right now. So I'm not saying, the Yankees are going to not miss Aaron Judge, but I think this year with what Anthony Rizzo is doing and Josh Donaldson hitting 3 home runs in the last 4 games since coming back, I think, and with what Garrett Cole has been doing, 7-0, still undefeated on the year. Domingo Germán tossing the start he did the other night. I think this team can just float above 500 for the 10-day IL stint, and I think they'll be fine. I think they will be fine. And with the Rays, what the Rays have been playing like, I mean, since May 1st, let's look it up real quick. By the way, StatMoose, they charge $20 a month now. So if you just go on private search, I'm not sure if I should be putting this out there, but I don't want it to like completely blow. Like it's not gonna blow. Who's watching this besides like a couple of you guys? We got like 10 viewers right now in total out of Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Shout out you guys though, my loyal guys. But StatMoose, I'm not sure if you guys have used it in the past. StatMoose.com. You can type in like Francisco Lindor's last 20 games, or Francisco Alvarez, or Pete Alonso, or Brandon Nimmo, anybody, Aaron Judge. Last 10 games. It'll give you all their stats. Now they make you pay $20 a month to look that up. You only get like 10 free searches. But if you just go on private search, you get all the unlimited searches because I don't know. But Rays record since May 1st. All right, let's see. Where is this? Why isn't it popping up? My bad. My phone's not loading. Shout out the new Wi-Fi. All right, but the Rays suck. At least they will suck. Why is it not popping up? Rays records since... Here we go. All right, now we're loading. 14-8 since May 15th. So they're not that team that they were. 14-8 still pretty good. But Rays record, let's see, in last 10 games. Jeez, the Rays are 10 7. All right, the Rays are pretty good in the last. The Rays are pretty good. But at least the Yankees are still catching ground. They're not that far behind. At least, with what they were at in the beginning of the year. And plus, they will get Judge back. And I think when Judge comes back from injury, you can kind of compare him to David Wright in a sense where he comes back and just lights it up off an injury. So that's another good thing when he does come back. But only 8 games back right now. Sheesh. So they're actually further than the Mets. But, yeah. going to be a tough road to climb, but ultimately, if there's the AL East is dominant, dude. Not a single team. The Red Sox 31-31, Blue Jays 35-28, Yankees 36-26, Orioles 37-24, Rays 45-19. But on the road, yeah, I mean the Rays the majority run all their games at home, 28-6 at home, which is just a ridiculous record. 28-6 at home. Jesus. 17-13 on the road, which is still good, but not 28-6. And then the Yankees 17-12 on the road. So surprisingly better on the road than the Rays. It's just home 19-14, which really they're going to start to win home games. You got to think, right? 19-14 at home. That's the problem. All right, start winning more games at home. Pretty much simple for the Yankees. And with the injury plague obviously sucks, but I don't think it's going to affect them. And another thing is Gleyber Torres now, though. I mean, I'm hearing some trade rumors about him potentially moving and potentially acquiring an actual pitcher for this staff that was supposed to be reliant on the pitching staff. And, quite frankly, it's just everything's hit the fan besides Garrett Cole. Luis Severino has came back, obviously, but, he's been up and down since coming back. Domingo Germán, when he has his sticky stuff, he's lights out, but when he doesn't, he sucks. He's Domingo Germán. And then who else do we got? Carlos Rodon still has yet to pitch. And then Nestor Cortez, obviously, recently going on the IL as well with Aaron Judge. So they're 36-26 with all this. So, and Judge has already been on the IL before. So, the Yankees can get through it. If the season ended today, they would be in the postseason, I believe. If the season ended today, the Mets wouldn't. So, and you look at their schedule, honestly, you look at the Yankees schedule too. I'm not saying, obviously, it hurts not having Judge, but they can get through it. The White Sox are the White Sox, 27-35. Then they go to the Red Sox. They're 500 this year. So, they're nothing too crazy. And then after Boston, then the Yankees got the Subway Series again. Oh, no, well, then they got the Subway Series. Wait, where'd it go? So, and we all know the Mets aren't that good because we're a bunch of Mets fans that are listening right now. Then they got the Red Sox again. Then they got the Mariners, who are 30-31. They're underperforming this year, but then they go to, then the Texas Rangers come to them. So if they can get Judge back by that Ranger series, they'll be okay. And I think they should, because that's June 23rd. So as long as his toe doesn't turn into a torn ACL. But I was also hearing Tiki Barber reference that he had this same toe injury and it still hurts him to this day. And that Judge might be dealing with this for the rest of his career and he might not come back from a toe injury, which is just I don't know. I'm going to take it from Tiki Barber that he's a pro athlete and he's a running back, but I'm also going to take it into account that, as great as Tiki Barber was and as great as many 1,000 rushing yard season as he had, Aaron Judge is an MVP caliber player. In fact, he is an MVP. So, and it's baseball, not football. So there's that. But, I guess you could say also that baseball might affect you a little bit more because the 162 game season, you're obviously on your feet. I feel like, the adrenaline rush much more once a week in a football game could get you through a toe injury rather than night in and night out every single night dealing with that. But I can see where he's coming from there, but it's Judge. Judge is a freak athlete. He'll come back. He'll be fine. He'll be the same Aaron Judge. I think what this Yankees team really needs is just the guys that have been producing to keep producing. Anthony Rizzo just has to keep being the Anthony Rizzo he's been being all year. And then, with Josh Donaldson coming back so far, the 3 home runs he hit this week, hopefully that can carry over, build up his confidence because, just a couple years ago with the Atlanta Braves, Donaldson was still an impact player. So And he's not too far removed from that. So if they can get that side of Josh Donaldson back, that would be huge for the Yankees. And then once Judge does return, then boom. So, all right. All right. I don't have my NBA Finals. I didn't have my NBA Finals, whatchamacallit. I didn't have my NBA Finals overlay. But before I do get into the Knicks, let me talk about this NBA Finals. Nikola Jokic, dude, 32 points, 20 plus rebounds. I think he had 22 or 21 to be exact, 10 assists. And then Jamal Murray, too, went off again. Those two, I said it like about a week ago, could be recognized one day as one of the best postseason duos of all time. One of the best. Not the best, and not just yet, but one day. If they pull this series victory off, and with the way that the Nuggets are built, it's hard to imagine that they won't be back here next year or even years after that. Nikola Jokic isn't going anywhere. Jamal Murray ain't going anywhere. Aaron Gordon is, I don't know. There's been rumors about him potentially leaving, but I don't know. And then Michael Porter Jr., I mean, if he leaves, it could really benefit him, but why would Michael Porter Jr. leave? He's averaging over 15 a night on a finals team. So do your thing, Michael Porter Jr., literally. So this, like what we're watching, like the Heat played their best game all postseason in game 2, in my opinion. They had Gabe Vincent go off, Bam Adebayo go off, and Jimmy Butler. And they barely beat the Nuggets. Barely. The Nuggets, I think what they showed you what really should have happened in game 2. The Nuggets kind of missed a beat a little bit. Nobody besides Nikola Jokic in game 2 for the Nuggets scored over 20 points. So I'm going to plug in my charger real quick because I do got low battery. I will be right back. Yeah, Jokic, though, we got to call Jokic, I think, one of the best big men of all time if he pulls this off already. I mean, you got the ring. He's got a ring now. If he gets this, probably a finals MVP if he wins this. And then you also got to take into account he's got multiple MVPs already. So Jokic is going to put himself in the Hall of Fame with he could retire if he wins this ring and he'll be in the Hall of Fame. And then also, I mean, he's going to go down as one of the best big men of all time. I mean, you talk Shaq, you talk Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, you talk Wilt. Like Nikola Jokic is going to be right there, and he might be better than them. It might be a hot take, but is it really? Is it? Nikola Jokic is that good. I'm not going to go over too many predictions for this offseason with the Knicks because quite frankly, here are my predictions. I think if anybody gets traded, I don't think it's going to be Julius Randle. I think it's going to be Obi Toppin that gets traded, and I think us Knicks fans are going to be very upset. I'm going to hate to see my guy Obi go. It's going to suck, but maybe it's for the best of the team in the long run. I don't think it is. I think getting rid of Julius Randle, you heard me on my last pod. If you did, I was saying this Knicks team would be better just losing Julius Randle. I get it. You got to replace the 25 points and that you got to replace the 10 plus boards and all the assists. But, when you watch the game, when you see Randle, clog up the paint, when you see Randle not move the ball, or when you see Randle play that unorthodox style of basketball, when he drives to the paint, dishes it out to the corner, and then it gets deflected. Somebody runs down the court and gets a dunk. And then you see 4 guys on defense running down for the Knicks, except one guy, and that one guy is Julius Randle. That's what frustrates Knicks fans. And that's why people like me think this team would be better off. This team would be better off without Julius Randle on it. Even if you just took him off of it and you added, even if you just cut Julius Randle and you got nothing in return, team would be better. But yeah, let me not spend too much time on the Knicks because the Knicks aren't in season. I'm going to talk a little bit of Jets. Quick little bit of Jets, maybe a little bit of Giants. Then I'm going to wrap things up. I'm going to talk Garrett Wilson real quick. Garrett Wilson, I think, has the potential to become a top 5 wide receiver. I think a top 3 wide receiver. I think maybe even not the best wide receiver. I'm not going to say that my guy is going to be the best at anything because I don't want to jinx it, but I think Garrett Wilson can legitimately become a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL with Aaron Rodgers now as his quarterback. When you look at what he did last year with Joe Flacco, Zach Wilson, and Mike White as his quarterbacks, those 3 guys were his quarterbacks, and he still racked up over 1,100 receiving yards. He didn't pull in as many touchdowns as we would hope for, only 4, but we think that the increase and the yards is really all that matters. You get us into the red zone and let everybody else do the rest of the work. Garrett Wilson, I think, has top 5 wide receiver potential now that Aaron Rodgers is quarterback. Now, remember, last year, like I just said it a few moments ago, his 3 quarterbacks were arguably the worst 3 quarterbacks in football. I love Mike White. I know Mike White's a huge meme, and Mike White did have his games. But Mike White's Mike White. Joe Flacco, the most unmotivated quarterback in the history of the NFL last year. Zach Wilson, obviously more worried about banging moms and slinging bombs. So what did Garrett Wilson have to work with? And he racked up over 1,100 yards. So I'm excited to see what Garrett Wilson can do in 2023. And alongside probably the best wide receiver group he's ever had. So, I mean, obviously, I'm talking in college and in the NFL. So in college, when he was with Ohio State, he had some really good receivers. But as good as McCole Hardman, as good as Al Lazard, as good as Corey Davis, who was another former first-round pick. I know we're forgetting about Corey Davis, but this Jets wide receiver room is very, very good. It's loaded. I mean, we got a top 5 defense already. Top 5 defense already. And now you factor in the weapons that we added to help out Aaron Rodgers. It's clipped. Randall Cobb too. Another one. The Jets got Aaron Rodgers what Aaron Rodgers was always asking for from the Green Bay Packers. Build a team around me. And that's what the Jets have done for Aaron Rodgers. That's what they've done. And they already have a loaded defense. And now they have that loaded offense. That loaded defense was top 5 in points allowed and top 5 in yards allowed last year. That top 5 defense that featured the 2 of the best cornerbacks in football, arguably the best cornerback football in Sauce Gardner, and then arguably another top 15 cornerback in DJ Reed. This is what this team offered you. So I think that's what we're excited for as Jets fans. We're excited to see this top 5 defense now with an actual offense to work with. You know, an offense that just doesn't give up the ball in 5 minutes and then the defense is constantly on the field. Because we even saw in just game 1 of last year, this defense had that potential. You know, in the first half, it was lights out. Even against the Ravens, they were lights out. But then what happened? They got on the field more and they got tired, and that's what happens in football. We all know the defense needs an offense to work. So that's the thing. That's what we're going to be looking at. That's what we're going to be looking at. But the defense with Quinnen Williams, Quincy Williams, C.J. Mosley, Carl Lawson, John Franklin Myers, Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, Jordan Whitehead. This defense is ready to go. Ready to go. And like I said, with the offense Aaron Rodgers has, Breece Hall, Michael Carter, Bam Knight, Al Nazard, Garrett Wilson, McCole Hardman, Corey Davis, TJ Conklin, CJ Uzmoa. This Jets team is Super Bowl or bust for a reason next year. And that's going to bring me into my next point. I think Rob Saleh has more pressure on him than anybody else on the Jets. I think he has the most pressure out of any head coach, actually, in this league. So, there's a lot of things that Rob Saleh has pressured on him. Because when I'm just thinking, Brian Daboll, if he doesn't get to the postseason next year, he still has his job secured because the Giants, really, they kind of overachieved last year. But Rob Saleh, 11-23 in 2 seasons as the Jets head coach. And he's going out there and making comments saying Aaron Rodgers makes his job easier. If you're Sean McVay or if you're even Brian Daboll, you can say that because you've had success in the NFL. Rob Saleh has done squat. Rob Saleh hasn't achieved anything as a head coach in the NFL. As a defensive coordinator, yes, he's achieved a whole lot. He's been to a Super Bowl. I think he actually might have won a Super Bowl on part of a few staffs. But as a head coach, Aaron Rodgers as a head coach, Rob Saleh, I don't know why I just said Aaron Rodgers, but Rob Saleh has done absolutely nothing. Out when Breece Hall and Elijah Vera Tucker went down, this Jets team sucked. We were at one point in the season 7-4. And then we finished the season 7-10. Some coaches get fired for that. Some coaches get fired for that. Now, if Rob Saleh, if that was year 3, he gets fired. So, if the Jets don't make the AFC Championship game, it's not going to be because of Aaron Rodgers. It's not going to be because of Garrett Wilson or Sauce Gardner or DJ Reed or Quinnen Williams or Breece Hall. It's most likely going to be Rob Saleh who's taking the hit if the Jets don't make the AFC Championship game. So Rob Saleh, it might be we're talking about Aaron Rodgers, we're talking about Breece Hall, we're talking about Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, all these players with all this pressure. But the one with the most pressure in the Jets organization right now is actually Rob Saleh. Because those guys are all coming back if shit hits the fan next year. But if shit hits the fan next year, the one guy who's not coming back is the guy who's been 11-23 over his first 2 seasons as Jets head coach. It's going to be Rob Saleh who takes the fall. So that's why Saleh needs to actually coach this year and not, I don't know, run stairs before the game. I don't know, be with your players before the game. It's like the only coach, I get it. It's cool and it's fun and it's different, but the game isn't about you. Why are you running run stairs any other day? There's 6 other days during the week and you pick 2 hours prior before your NFL game to run stairs? You're a head coach. Get in the office and, I don't know, work on some plays. Work on some offensive plays that you need more help with Aaron Rodgers now for, because Aaron Rodgers is making your job easier, right? Listen, Saleh scares me. I'm not going to lie. If there's one guy who I think could mess this thing up, it's Rob Saleh. It is Rob Saleh. And that's why Rob Saleh has the most pressure going into the season more than any other Jet, more than any other Giant. The one with the most pressure is Rob Saleh. But let's finish it up. We're going to do Daniel Jones expectations next, but we did the over-unders for the players on 2 pods ago. Make sure you go check that out. Also, I got to get CPMY on here to talk some Giants with me too. Chris loves his Giants talk, and I know he loves his boy Daniel Jones. So I need some Giants takes. But this team added a lot in the offseason. It's not being talked about because obviously Aaron Rodgers, McCole Hardman, Randall Cobb, the Jets are the talk of the town. But we cannot downplay what the New York Giants have done. We cannot downplay what Joe Shane has built over here in the Big Blue Crew. The Giants are kind of loaded. They had a very good defense last year. Wink Martindale had a lot to work with. You had Leonard Williams, obviously. When Xavier McKinney was on the field, this defense was that much better. It looked like a top 10 defense in the league when Xavier McKinney was on the field. That's how much of a game changer Xavier McKinney is. Obviously, Azeez Ojulari missing the time that he missed affected this defense. But if he can be fully healthy for all of next year, that's huge. Leonard Williams, another guy who they need fully healthy, that will be huge. Kayvon Thibodeau coming back for another year, that's huge. And then Wink Martindale also has a lot more to work with now that Deonte Banks was added in the draft, a very high prospect, a cornerback that they really needed. So Deonte Banks might offer a lot for this Giants team this year. And then obviously another one, Bobby Okereke, who I love, linebacker, former Las Vegas Raider. I'm not Las Vegas Raider, blanking right now. Indianapolis Colt, Bobby Okereke. He was a beast over in Indianapolis. He was a top 10 linebacker for the past 2 seasons. So that's huge, and that's not being talked about a lot. So adding Okereke, adding Deonte Banks, and then you flip to the offensive side, adding Darren Waller, a guy who not too long ago who had 1,100 receiving yards in back-to-back seasons as a tight end. Darren Waller is what Daniel Jones needs. And if Darren Waller can stay healthy, then Daniel Jones, expect him to have a very big year. Saquon Barkley, if everything's going to get worked out with Saquon will be playing. And he will be rushing for over 1,000 yards. He will be gaining over 700 plus yards receiving. And Isaiah Hodgson, full year out of him. Let's see what works with him. Why not? He looked pretty good. Let's see what we can do. So I really like the looks of the Giants headed into 2023, especially because of Wink Martindale's defense and Darren freaking Waller. So I'm very excited. Now let's talk about Daniel Jones. So Jones, playoff Danny Dimes, showed up against the Minnesota Vikings. He led them to that wild card victory. Remember when they were tied 24-24? He made a couple of big throws to put them in the lead, to ultimately won them the game. He had 300 plus passing yards that game, probably his best game ever. It was Daniel Jones' best game ever, and it was in his most important game besides the one that he lost against the Philadelphia Eagles. But I think what Daniel Jones showed you, obviously in the regular season, he wasn't all that, 15 passing touchdowns, but, with his legs, he was a beast, and accuracy-wise, he was a beast. So Daniel Jones did a lot of the little things right. And when push came to shove in the playoffs, he did what he needed to do to get the victory, and he did more than what he needed to do. In fact, he put the team on his back in that wild card round. Now in round 2, obviously the divisional round, playing the Philadelphia Eagles, the Giants are just not, they weren't at least where the Eagles were. Now this year, different story. I think the Giants are actually set up pretty well to fight with the Eagles and potentially beat the Eagles. Because of the reasons I just mentioned, their defense is actually scary good. But Danny Dimes, man, well now Danny Dollars, because he's got that contract. He's going to have high expectations, and as he should. Now with Darren Waller now on his side, now with a full year of Isaiah Hodgson, now with another year of Brian Daboll on his ear, and now with the money, Daniel Jones has expectations. But when you look at his career, when you look at his rookie season where he played very well, where he threw 20-plus passing touchdowns, you look at year two, obviously the interceptions were up, and the fumbles were up, but he still was pretty good. The talent was there. So I'm not really worried about the 15 passing touchdowns. I think that was more of, the Giants just, honestly, they had Darius Slayton as their number one wide receiver. That's a number 3 wide receiver at best on any other team. Now with Isaiah Hodgson, it doesn't do him that much better, but Darren Waller will help. And I think Isaiah Hodgson is a wild card. Who knows what he can provide. We see, wide receivers just pop out of the blue, out of nowhere all the time. Adam Thielen popped out of nowhere. Who else popped out of nowhere? Antonio Brown popped out of nowhere. These guys pop out of nowhere all the time. Cooper Kupp, another guy, popped out of nowhere. So, I'm Brandon Marshall, another guy with the Jets. So, all I'm saying is I think this Giants team, I'm not saying Isaiah Hodgson is going to be a wide. I'm not saying this Giants offense is what's going to make the Giants good. It's the defense. And I think defense, buys you out a lot. We see it in the NFL. When you have a good defense, you can compete unless you're the Denver Broncos. But Daniel Jones obviously isn't Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's an MVP, so Daniel Jones, he's not the Russell Wilson from last year. I'll say that. But with the defense that they have, with the guys that they got, Leonard Williams, Azeez Ojulari, Kayvon Thibodeau, then you got Xavier McKinney, you got Deontay Banks, you got Bobby Okereke that you just got, and then Wink Martindale, the defensive mind that he is. And then now they won't be on the field as much longer, hopefully, because, Darren Waller should help. Isaiah Hodgson should help. Another year of Saquon should help. Andrew Thomas is only going to get better, which is just scary because he's already one of the best tackles in all of football. This is it. I think the Giants, I'm predicting it right now. I think the New York Giants are going to win the NFC East in 2023. I think they're going to do it. Mark my words. What's today's date? It is June 8th now. It is June 8th, 2023. And I'm predicting the New York Giants will win the NFC East. Because Wink Martindale and that defense is going to be a top 5 defense in the NFC this year. In the NFC, not the NFL, in the NFC. I think it'll be a top 8. When you look at the guys they got, Deontay Banks now here, Bobby Okereke now here, joining Leonard Williams, joining Xavier McKinney, Azeez Ojulari, year 2 of Kayvon Thibodeau. The Giants are going to win the NFC East. That's all I'm going to say for tonight. Jets, they gotta make the AFC Championship. They gotta win the Super Bowl. But then the Mets, they gotta get things going. The Yankees, they gotta stay afloat. The Knicks gotta get rid of Julius Randle, but they probably will. And then the Nets keep McCall Bridges, obviously, which probably will stay and happen. I love you guys. Shout out CPNY. I love you. Always showing support. Love the fam. Love my guys. Love the hood. Locker room talk. Love you guys. Shout out the squad. Oh, and John Soprano. Hold, just, bro. GOMD. Fuck off, John Soprano. And Amish Country Met, please unblock me. Shay and Sons, please unblock me. I just posted stats. That's all I did. But John Soprano, you suck.